Hi, friends. I'm Courtney. I'm a performer, speaker, and a writer. I'm a mama to three crazy boys and a super sweet dog. I decided 12 years ago that I needed to create a business that worked for me instead of me working for it. I'm a multi passionate entrepreneur who may be considered a serial entrepreneur by some. But then I realized that all of my businesses focused on connection, community, and creating an incredible experience. I cannot wait to share with you how to make small but mighty changes in your life to affect your overall well being and create a life and business you want to get up in the morning for. That's right, my friends. I am the Renaissance Mama. Hi, friends. It's Courtney, the Renaissance Mama, and I am so pumped to have you guys here today. I have a very special guest. This is Courtney McCarthy, and she is the owner, CEO of I'm going to get this wrong, aren't I? LOYOBO Fit, right? If I'm correct,
It was close. LOYOBO Fit. Yeah.
But it stands for Love Your Body Fitness, right?
Yeah.
Oh, and I'm so, first of all, Courtney, I have to tell you this, that I don't know about for you, but when growing up, there wasn't tons of Courtneys. So if I was ever like at a party and I saw another Courtney, I'd be like, oh my God, this is going to be a good party because there's two Courtneys. So I feel like this is going to be a great episode because there's two Courtneys. So hands down.
Funny story though. I knew like no other Courtneys up until grade 9. And then when I started high school, I kid you not, there were 5 of us in the same year.
What?
I know. I've never met as many Courtneys as I have since grade 9, but
that's crazy.
I was the only one that people called Courtney because everyone else went by their last names.
Oh, interesting. Yeah. No, I've never met that many Courtneys. I think I probably could count 5 on my
They're out there. We're out there.
Yeah, they're there somewhere. We'll find them. We'll start a group and then they will come.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Courtney, I'm so excited to have you here today. And we're just going to hop right in this for my audience. So I want you to tell everybody who you are and what you are known for.
Yes. So thanks again for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you. I am the owner and founder of LOYOBO Fit, which, as you said, stands for Love Your Body Fitness. We are an online wellness community. And my passion is helping to teach women how to ditch diet culture, how to step out of the shame cycle, and how to really redefine their relationship with movement, with exercise, with food, and most importantly, with their bodies.
I love that. I love every element of that. It's so good and so important. Like, I want to say right now, but I guess it's important always. But I feel like it's a reoccurring theme right now. I know so many people I chat to just even in passing, and they're like, oh, I've got the COVID, 20, I've got this, I've got that. And I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
it's just such a time to like really take care of ourselves. But like you said, have that kind of mental shift of how we see ourselves and how we do things. So
Yeah, you're right, especially after COVID. Our bodies have gone through a lot in the last 2 years.
Yeah, they totally have, right? So I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's time for a switch in how we look at things.
Mm-hmm.
So why and when did you start your business?
So it was definitely one of those things where it was an evolutionary process. I didn't always know that I wanted to be in the fitness industry, let alone being an entrepreneur. So it really happened out of my own health and wellness journey and my own, struggle with my weight and with my body and with trying to figure out something that worked. So like many women, from a very young age, I, tried all the different fads, all the different diets. I was always conscious about the way that my body looks. And then I was in a really toxic relationship where my weight became kind of a central piece of our issues with our physical intimacy and within that relationship. So with that under my belt, I lost a ton of weight. I basically like achieved the perfect body ideal that our society tells us, with a flat stomach and, quite, small. And didn't actually give me what I thought it would. It didn't give me the confidence. It didn't give me the self-love. I got a ton of compliments,
Yeah.
but a lot of the compliments, I was actually just talking about this with one of our community members. It's like the backhanded compliments when you lose weight, where they're actually telling you, you know, things like, oh, this is how I always pictured you, or you look so much better now. And you're like, oh, so you actually thought I looked like crap before. Thanks. And so, you know, through that weight loss journey, I discovered Zumba, which was really my gateway into fitness. And it was something that, you know, started my process of redefining what fitness and wellness looked like for myself, because Zumba was the first time I ever experienced a separation of exercise from joy. Like it was just about, or I guess not so much a separation, so much as a mindset shift of moving my body in a way that just felt joyful, rather than what I guess typically thought of as exercise, which is the burning calories and the punishment and the purpose being to change what I look like. This was just about being in the moment and connecting with other women. The more I taught in the fitness industry, the more I saw my own struggles reflected back at me, at the women who came to my classes. And the more that I really started to educate myself with, you know, the body positive movement, the anti-diet movement, the science behind mindful eating, and applying those principles not only to my own life, but to my clients, and seeing like absolute transformations of people, of myself and the people I work with, finally feeling the way that you want to feel in your body, taking the stress out of, you know, figuring out what to eat, how to move, feeling motivated and excited for the first time, or feeling, you know, connected to their bodies and connected to movement for the first time. And then in turn, seeing that trickle down and impact the rest of their lives, impact how women are showing up, impact their confidence to go after promotions, to take up space in their lives, to do the things they want to do, to actually make the memories rather than spending their time focusing on weight. So that is how it all kind of came to be. And I'm so unbelievably grateful and lucky to be able to do what I do now. And I want to continue just helping as many women as I can.
That's so amazing. Like I love all of that. And you're so right. Like I feel like you hit a point and you're like, okay, I thought I wanted to look like this, or I thought this would make me feel, you know, like that. And then when it doesn't, well, what does that mean? And how do you know, where do you go from there? I have to tell you a quick story about Zumba though. I don't know if you know, but my theater is my background is musical theater. So
I did not know that.
Oh yes, it is my passion. It is my love. So for me, Zumba is like, watch out. I am performing. I am the crazy girl who like literally asks, I'm like, oh, you might want to move a little bit further away because I'm going to go full out, like,
yes.
And I'm also like, when I work out, I'm the crazy. I love working out. Like I'm super athletic and I just like to go. So even in Zumba, I feel like I have to do it, but to the extreme. So I'm that.
But you got to come out, because we have a bunch of musical theater fans in the community, and I love requests. So we often end up doing Broadway hits in the Zumba classes, because I'm all about the big and the silly and things like that. So
so good. You can't go wrong.
No, it's your time. Like, how often as adults do we, you know, something that I talk about a lot is how often do we get the chance to just like play, to just like let ourselves be silly and ridiculous and big and fun. And so, yeah, that's what Zumba is all about to me, for sure.
It's such a good time. And how has everything been received, like by your ladies, by your communities? What are you hearing back from people?
Yeah, I think that, you know, exactly what you said is that this is, you know, the body positive movement has been around for a little while, but it's still pretty new. So for many women, it's the fact of like not realizing that this was an option up until now. Like how many of us have felt, you know, intimidated by gyms, or that we didn't belong there, or that it wasn't meant for us in our bodies. Gyms are incredibly exclusionary environments, like, and spaces, not just for women, but also especially people of color and people in larger bodies and people of different abilities. So the fact that, you know, you can have a space that rather than being like an individual instructor who you feel safe with or an individual class that you feel safe with, it's the idea that it's built from the ground up. So really discovering that, when you have the support that you've been looking for, when you can find that space, it really does make a huge difference. And I have so many members who say, I never considered myself a gym person, or I never considered myself an athlete, or I never thought I liked exercise, but seeing it's not so much that those things were true, it's that they'd never been shown how exercise can be joyful, how to feel empowered in their bodies, and also how to make choices for themselves, to not feel like they have to conform to, a very traditional model of exercise, or, the go hard and go home approach. They can choose what feels good for their bodies. And that can be the goal, rather than, feeling badly for like a modification, or feeling weak because they can't do the advanced options or go hard. So it's kind of like those light bulbs going off of like, oh, this is possible. It's possible to feel this way.
You hit it before when you said, like, once you feel comfortable then with your body and what you're doing, and now you have this energy and you're able to do these things that you never knew you could before. Like, I know for me during COVID, it was eye-opening how much I needed my workout. Like, I had to be like, okay, online school, doing my work, but it was like 1:00 p.m. every day. I'm like, okay, boys, I'm going to go to my workout. I need it, or else I couldn't even function. Like, it was so intertwined with like my mental health and how I showed up as a person, that if I didn't get even that little bit of movement in, that little bit of sweat, I was like, I couldn't do anything. So
but I feel like that's so undervalued in the world of fitness and movement, right? That like there's so much pressure on basically, like, if it's not changing your body, like, what's the point? And really not finding those spaces that say, okay, this is not just it's not about your body so much necessarily. It can be spiritual, it can be emotional, it can be mental, it can be for your overall well-being, which takes off that pressure of constantly having to achieve. And I wanted to make sure, Courtney, that I touched back on something that you said too, because, for so many of us, it's that idea of like, realizing that things aren't working, right? Like whether it's a diet that you've tried, or a program that you've tried, or a lifestyle that you've tried, where you're like, okay, this just isn't working for me. So often the way that the diet and fitness industry and the beauty industry even have us brainwashed and programmed is that when that happens, when we realize we're not happy, or the diet isn't sustainable, or that something's not working, we so rarely blame the diet or the program or the thing. So often it becomes, well, it's our fault. It's because I don't have enough willpower. It's because I don't have enough sacrifice. It's because, I'm too lazy, or whatever, insert the shame and the self-blame there. And I think, that's part of the education, and my mission is to let people know that if you felt that way, if you feel like, I know it's not working, I know I don't feel the way that I want to feel, but like, I don't really know what to do. And that's often when we keep turning to the next diet or the next, thing. You're not broken. Your body is not broken. This system has been designed to keep you in that cycle, and for you to feel like it's your fault. And it's not. I promise it's not.
That's such a good message. Cause I've done extremes just to try it. And I remember like a few years ago, actually right before COVID, which was kind of great because when meat was really expensive, we went totally vegan. And everybody laughed so much because my husband did it as well. And he is like known for smoking meats and all this stuff. And they're like, you guys are going vegan. And I tried it, but it was about 3 or 4 months in. And I was like, I'm not feeling the results, like people going, oh, are you feeling amazing? Like, is it this, is that? And I was kind of like, well, not really. Like, it was just a funny difference. And then I've done the opposite, where then I tried doing super low carbs and keto, and same thing. It was good for a while. And then it's like, this is not really what my body needs either. So
yeah, well, that's the problem, right? When we're trying to follow all these rules and very specific restrictions, and, these lists of eat this, not that, or do this sort of movement, don't do that. They're based on this idea that, when you think of any diet or program, whether it's keto or intermittent fasting or veganism, I went raw vegan for a year. I did the juice cleanses. I did the master cleanse. All of them are the same, right? It's always like, this is it.
Yeah.
This is the magical solution. You're going to feel great. You're going to look the way that you want to look. The weight's just going to melt off. Your metabolism is going to spike. People will love you. You'll get men and women dropping at your feet. Gold and riches will come your way. It's all sold the same.
Oh yeah.
And yet, how many people do you know that have tried one thing or the other? I mean, exactly what you just said, Courtney. I tried it for a few days, a few weeks, a few months, maybe even a few years.
Yeah.
And then we always come back to whatever we were struggling with before, because the reality is it's not designed by you. It's not tuned into your body's needs. It encourages you actually to disassociate and ignore your body's signals and what it's trying to communicate with you. And there's no like wiggle room for life or flexibility, you know, your kids' birthdays and the bake sales and the joy and the pleasure that comes with food and movement. It's ignoring all that and saying you just need to follow these protocols, and that will help you lose weight, which will in turn make you feel the way that you want to feel. So we're taking kind of, you know, the goal is to help women especially, but also like both non-binary people and anyone really who's interested, to just understand that when we can let go of the weight loss goal, when we can stop making a body type or trying to force our bodies to do something different the goal, so many things open up for you as far as feeling the way that you want to feel, understanding what your body actually does need. And you start to step out of that struggle of feeling like, why do I struggle so much with motivation? Why doesn't this work for me? Why do I constantly feel drawn to the Netflix and chill? You start to build that understanding, and it just feels, the word I often use lately is freedom, is the freedom to just live your life and feel good and not feel so stressed out all the time.
So good. And I think, and I hope I don't know, this, my philosophy has always been, is you really have to find what works for you, right? Because everybody's bodies are so different. So what you're fueling your body might not be what so-and-so's feeling theirs. And like, I know for me, there's been times where like things are feeling great because I'm like looking what I need. I'm like, oh yeah, that's how my body needs to be fueled. But you might be different than I am, and vice versa, right? I think it's so different. So to have a blanket slate of like, this is what you have to eat, this is what you can't eat, this is what you can do, can't do. It's just,
and also especially like the needs of our bodies change. As women, we have cycles, right? Where like, depending on where we are in your cycle, you're going to feel differently, and your body's going to ask for different things. And also depending on what's happening in life, right? Like we just talked about COVID, our bodies needed a lot of very different things when we're trying to survive a pandemic versus just regular life. Or if we're talking about pregnancy or postpartum or even surviving motherhood, right? Like those are all times when, you know, it's finding a balance between what our body's asking for and also what's realistic and achievable. So not feeling like we have to adhere to strict, you know, guidelines and rules when it just doesn't work for life, and having the freedom and permission to adapt as we go and change and find that acceptance that is always our foundation, and that self-belief that your body is good, and one meal or one season or one snack or one workout or whatever it is does not make or break your health by any means.
I know. I had like, I think it was a few years back, I was listening to this beautiful, it was an ebook. I wish I remember what it was, but it was just that same concept of like 5 minutes of like good eating a day is still good eating, right? Like yes, ideally all day long, you'd be doing the good stuff. But I mean, if you think about it, if you did 5 minutes of like eating McDonald's every single day, that would give you a bad result. Whereas like 5 minutes of, I mean, obviously 5 minutes is not the goal, but like, I just like loved that same concept, is like, we always think of like, you know, if you're not doing it all the time, it's not perfect. And then it's not worth it, but that's totally not the case.
Yeah. And even we work a lot of, you know, breaking down even some of those labels around good and bad food, because, you know, when we're talking about the way that our brains work, is that as soon as we label something bad, it becomes, you know, elusive and exciting and, the taboo, and we want to rebel. So it can be really freeing with the mindful eating approach to give ourselves. I was actually also just talking about this morning with somebody else. I feel like, there's this great point when you give yourself permission to eat, and that can feel really, really scary of just saying, all food is good food and I can eat whatever I want at any time.
Yeah.
We often have this inner belief of like, oh my God, if I do that, I'll be out of control and I'll only eat McDonald's and, go for that McChicken every single day because that's what I'm going to want. And that's, if I have permission to eat it, I'm going to eat it. And in reality, when we take away those rules and those labels, it gets to the point where food just is. And like, for example, I've had a box of cookies sitting in my cupboard for a week, and I actually kind of forgot that they were there because I know that I can eat cookies anytime. So there's not the same like scarcity mindset of like, oh, if the cookies are in front of me, I have to eat them all right now, or I have to get them out of the house. That it's through a lot of work. It's learning how to just accept that you can have cookies and sometimes you're not going to want the cookies, and really doing that work to listen internally rather than on these external set of rules.
I guess that's the same concept too. When people are like, I have a cheat day, and then just
Yes.
wild, right? And they're like, why do I feel so bad the next day? And it's literally being like, no, thank you. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. And it's, there's so many ways that weight stigma and fat phobia also intersect with this. So many of us think that fat and what we've been told is fat equals overeating, like fat equals out of control eating. And the reality is like, that's just simply not true. A lot of women, that most women actually eat too little. And many of us are malnourished in many ways. So, just understanding that health and what your body needs is so much more nuanced than diet culture would have us believe, right? Diet culture and the fitness industry says health equals eating less and moving more. And like, that's it. So easy, right? And I would go for like the vast majority of the population, that is not the equation to what's going to make you feel your best. There's lots of other things that we want to incorporate in there. Like, as I said, pleasure and joy and, social eating and comfort eating and all the things that can be really beneficial for our health if we let them be.
Yeah. Do you find that a lot of the clients that join your community, are they looking for the same things? Or is everyone kind of starting at a different spot?
That's a really good question. I think that everyone comes in at a little bit of a different point in their journey, but there are some commonalities. Definitely a common one is, as I said, like that they recognize that the normal stuff hasn't worked for them, that there's this kind of frustration and feeling like things aren't meant for them and their bodies, especially, again, a lot of our community is in larger bodies. So feeling like that regular fitness classes or regular gyms aren't safe and they aren't something that makes them feel good in their bodies. And I think the other thing that is in common is a desire for more.
Yeah.
Like when it's one of the reasons I talk so much about, as we said, it's not just about fitness and it's even not just about health at all. It's about a bigger dream that I want. It's not just that I want women to feel good in their bodies because that's the end goal. It's because I want what happens when women feel good in their bodies. I want the, running for office and going for the promotions and, showing up on a beach in their bikini and making memories with their kids and not missing out and being in the photographs without worrying about what their body looks like. That to me is what's exciting. And so I think a lot of the people that come have that in mind. Like it's almost like they know that they want more and they know that something else is possible, but they just have never been shown how to get there. And so they want that guidance and they want that support to help them think bigger and be bigger.
I love that so much. I'm going to tell you a quick story. So I was on the beach recently and this girl was wearing a very small bathing suit and it was like a G-string, which I wouldn't wear, but I was like, look at her and someone said, oh, look at that girl. And I literally looked at her and my first thought was, which I loved it so much, was, damn, good for her for rocking that bathing suit. I was like,
Yeah.
amazing. And then I was like, oh, and she's here with her partner or her husband or whatever, and it's his work event. So that's how confident this girl was. I was like, yeah, girl. Like I was just so moved. Whereas I feel like in the past, I'm sure lots of people are like, oh, look a person who what they're wearing and comments and all that. And I was like, no, that is amazing that girl is like, I wish I would just wear my whatever bathing suit in front of like good for her. That's awesome.
Yeah. And just normalizing that, right? Like normalizing that, whether you're in a G-string or you're in a one piece or you're in a muumuu, like having people adhere the same principles of like, your body is good. Yeah. It's deserving of respect. And also, I don't need to focus on your body being the primary thing that's important about you. Like, because I think especially for women, we've been told for so long that like, the only thing that matters is how you look versus, clearly this woman was like enjoying her day at the beach and that's what matters more.
Yeah. The greatest time. I was like, go for you.
And if that's having a great time in a G-string, then yes, absolutely. That's exactly the goal is like you wear what you want. And it's not about whether or not it looks flattering on you or what other people will think. It's whether or not that brings you joy.
I will say too, I love what you throw out on your social media. I don't know if you noticed, but I've become like a big fan of yours. And I think that is the way you show up. So honest. You're like, whatever. Like, I think there was one the other day where you're almost like nude. And I was like, what's going on here? And I was like, yes, Courtney. Like,
yeah, there's been some nudity on the internet a few times now.
Which is, to me, that is so incredible because I am one of those people that I love to perform. I love to speak in front of crowds. That's something I can do all day long. But you're right. I probably wouldn't walk around nude anywhere because I'd be like, oh my God, except for my house. My poor family is like, stop, mom, stop. But yeah.
Well, it's what's interesting even about like comparing where I am now in my body versus, even 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I'm at a larger state in my body, especially I'm one of those people that gained weight over the pandemic, being an entrepreneur, life has been stressful. And my habits have changed and, I'm on new medication and things like that. And so my body's changed with it. And, I don't like to pretend that like, of course there's been struggles with that have come with accepting the new way that my body looks like, because just like everybody else, I have that deep programming as well with diet culture. But I often like think to again, the things that I do now and the way that I'm able to show up in my life and as you said, like it's funny because I don't even think of it as like confidence so much as like not giving an F. You know what I mean? Like just like not caring. I think that's where I am is like of the way that I show up now. I have never done in my smaller size, which I think is going to shock a lot of people that like I have more confidence, more belief in my self-worth, more ability to do what I want and not care what other people think now than I ever did when I was smaller. And it's because of doing this sort of work and doing this sort of healing. And I also feel like, whether I gain more weight or lose weight, or if I stay the same size, I also know that it's going to be okay and that I can accept my body for how it shows up.
Yeah, that's so important. Do you find that a lot of the people in your community, you see a transformation in their like mindset and how they show up as themselves?
Oh yeah. And it's what makes me so excited to get up and out of bed this morning when I receive those stories. And it's often, again, it's the things that maybe you wouldn't expect, but I'll get messages and, one time, one of my members said they applied for a model call that Knix had put out there, the underwear brand. And she was like, I never would have done this, but I put my name in the hat. And I was like, oh my God, that's so great. Or often it's like photos of like, one of my clients went to a wedding in Italy recently, and she's like, and I bought a dress and, it wasn't the most flattering, but it was the one that I liked and I wore it and I rocked it. And she took pictures and she posted them in the group. Or it's being able to have conversations with their kids and recognize really be intentional about like not perpetuating that generational trauma and showing their kids another way forward, or like, especially with kids, showing up at the beach and not caring if they're like sitting in the sand playing with their daughter, like about whether or not their belly rolls or folds over or whatever. Those are the things that are so fantastic.
It kind of goes along the same lines, but like, what do you think is some of the things you're most proud of about your business and your community?
Gosh, I'm going to go really simple in the fact that I'm still here.
Yeah. Oh, 100%. That is, I mean, after these few years and
Yeah.
being
Yeah. If there's any small business owners listening, like it has been tough. And I know that I've had a lot of friends of mine who have owned studios and who have had businesses that have had to close. So that's one thing I'm very proud of, and I'm incredibly grateful for my team, because I definitely could not have done it without them. And I think the other thing I'm proud of is recently I had to make some changes in my business, which we weren't fully online before. We were a brick and mortar in Guelph. And my husband and I moved out to the forest to start a new kind of off the grid adventure. And that was a really difficult transition, and that took a lot of soul searching. And so I'm really proud of coming out the other side and using all the tools that I have to sit in the feels and the discomfort and really choose a big new adventure, and we'll see what happens next. I feel like this is like a new beginning.
You make a promise to me in like 6 to 8, maybe a year, we'll interview again, because I think we could do a full episode on that. I cannot wait to hear your stories.
Yeah, I feel like I already have enough to fill a full podcast, and it's only been a month, so I can imagine after a year.
Oh my gosh, I can't believe that's incredible though. Like I love when I hear stories like that people are just doing what they want to do in their lives, right? And adapting and changing. And you're right, 100%, of the fact that your business is still going and growing, right? Like it's growing. I love the sense of community. Like I said, I love how you're showing up as you on social media. So it's so wonderful. Courtney, we're almost done. We're almost out of time. So can you please let my audience know where they can find you?
Yeah, so we are big on Instagram, and we just started on TikTok. So those are places if you want to check us out. And we're always giving away strategies and free resources. So it's LOYOBO Fit, LOYOBOFIT on both platforms. Or they can definitely check out our website, it's LOYOBOFit.com, LOYOBOFIT.com.
And I'll add all those links as well, so everyone can find you really, really easily. Is there any last message you would like to kind of send out to my audience before you go?
I think, if I can pass anything on is knowing that the first step is the hardest. There's so many fears and anxieties that go along with putting yourself out there. So often start with micro changes. Start with something so small. Don't feel like you need to dive in, whether you're thinking about starting to move your body or you're thinking about starting to change your relationship with fitness. Just start with something small that you can do, even as we talked about, less than 5 minutes a day. It will get easier, I promise. And keep reminding yourself that your body is good and you are not the problem.
I love that. Awesome, Courtney. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. And friends,
thanks for having me.
Yes. Bye for now. We'll connect with you all later. Wasn't that a great episode? I love Courtney and what she's doing and what she stands for. So if you want to check out more of Courtney and maybe even join her fabulous community, check out therenaissancemama.com. And like always, I got to leave you a question. So I want to hear, is there something that you potentially would like to do to kind of help your body image or self-image? Hop on therenaissancemama.com and keep connected. All right, friends. Bye for now.